millimeter light guns are going to fire collectively 62 times. It is interesting that at the coronation of the king 3 years ago, according to Liber Regalis, a book written in the time of Richard II, the moment the king is crowned, the guns of the tower shall be shot off. And that's precisely what happened here 3 years ago as the guns fired to mark the king's moment of crowning. The sound is so wonderful to hear as the flash eliminators distribute the smoke of each blank round. Let's listen.
Yeah.
Leather pouch on which are 62 holes, and he puts a little pin through each one as each saluting gun is fired, and so that makes sure that exactly 62 shots are fired overall. That's 21 guns, a normal royal salute from the Tower of London as a royal fortress, an extra 20 because it is a royal fortress, and then on behalf of the City of London, a further 21 gun royal salute, making 62, fired here by the Honourable Artillery Company. Each of the soldiers taking part, or gunners, are part-time soldiers. They work in the city or nearby at desks or in other organisations, and they are soldiers in their spare time. And they've trained to do this, to make sure that the gun salutes are met. The Honourable Artillery Company firing these guns is the oldest regiment in the British Army, although it can trace its history back to 1087, the year of William the Conqueror's death. William the Conqueror was responsible for building the Tower of London in the first place. But it was the year that Anne Boleyn was executed by King Henry VIII that the Honourable Artillery Company was formally set up as the fraternity and guild of longbows, crossbows and handguns. So the history is immense and the duty ancient. The moment the gun is fired, they take the empty round out. It normally clangs onto the ground sometimes, and then the next round is prepared. You can see the soldier will just show the safety to the officer, then it's cleared off, placed into the breech and ready to be fired. Gun salutes are fired from all the main saluting stations at 12 noon. It's only the City of London that has 1 hour later, which matches the lunchtime for these part-time soldiers so that they can get away from work and not interrupt their working day. But framed by the great Tower of London, the gateway to the city, it's a remarkable sight. The United Kingdom is the only country left in Europe that still holds a coronation for the inauguration of its sovereign and head of state. It used to be everywhere in Europe that coronations took place. But for King Charles III, when he came to the throne, it was one of his first tasks to set the date for his coronation. And whereas the accession is often touched by the sadness of the loss of the previous monarch, the coronation is meant as a moment of celebration. And so every year, guns are fired to mark the anniversary. Just behind where these guns fire on Tower Wharf is the Tower of London, where the regalia, or the crown jewels, are stored. And they travelled from here to Westminster 3 years ago for the use at the coronation. They had been made mostly at the restoration of the monarchy in 1661. And so each reign, those objects are used once for the coronation. The gun salutes at noon took place in Edinburgh at the castle there, at Hillsborough in Northern Ireland in County Down, and in Cardiff, also at Colchester at Plymouth, and at noon 2 hours ago in Gibraltar. For anyone over at the London Assembly, straight across the river from here, it is quite a sight to see these 3 105mm light guns firing their blank rounds, because the sight and smell and sound of this gun salute, which lasts for 62 firings, is uniquely different. The 3 guns were brought down to this saluting base at Tower Wharf at noon today, drawn through the city's streets by the Pinzgauer vehicles, with the troops responsible, the gunners, all in those vehicles keeping a watch on their duty, and the ammunition waiting here for the firing, slowly being worked through at the moment. As soon as the gun salute is complete, the Pinzgauer vehicles will come forward. The troops will reattach the guns for their journey back to barracks, and as soon as the guns are clean and put away, each one of these reservists will take their uniforms off, back into their civilian clothes, and return to work. Later today, the King and Queen, along with the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, the Princess Royal, and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, will be holding a garden party, the first of the 2026 garden parties at Buckingham Palace. the completion of the gun salute. They'll now check that the guns are clear. The non-commissioned officers step forward to check the breech. Safety imperative, of course. The barrels will be very sooted up now. Each of those non-commissioned officers will report back to the officer that the guns are clear and safe. Troops will line up, ready to be inspected at the conclusion of their task. And it's perhaps worth remembering that although it rained a little for the coronation in 2023 for the King and Queen, the coronation of William the Conqueror on Christmas Day of 1066 was a very unhappy affair. The cheers outside Westminster Abbey led to the belief of the Norman conquerors that there was a riot outside, and it was not a happy response that took place. And throughout the history of coronations, it has always been, for each reign, a point at which the whole monarch's period as sovereign is marked and begun. And so it was 3 years ago for the King and Queen, reflected and saluted here by the Honourable Artillery Company on Tower Wharf, echoing, of course, the duties that existed as the constable comes forward at the completion of this task. And the governor there, Colonel, in charge of this event, completing his responsibility. The gun salute is done, and there a picture of Henry VIII in the background with a few ravens.